thumbs up.
13 of those. So it's been our pleasure to work with you, and we like doing the work we do. We like doing the peer reviews, and we definitely love working with the town of Southborough.
Has it been 13 years, really?
It's 13 years. 2010 we started.
Oh my gosh.
Working with
Holy
you.
smokes.
I think you said Russ is coming, so you and Russ are the only two members when I started.
Mark has been on for 33 years.
Oh, wow.
Just saying.
Yeah, just saying, oh boy.
Can't stop now.
Okay. So Melinda Upton this is her first official meeting. She's a new member, our newest member, I should say.
Just for a second.
Second?
Meeting, yeah.
Timer now.
I missed a. Yeah, got it. Okay. She's still our newest member, even at second meeting. And Russ, we're waiting for. He's probably dusting himself off from being in the field. And we have Kevin and Elizabeth and Ben Smith, who I believe you know, Chris. He's not able to make it tonight. He double booked himself with family items and things. So.
Okay. Well, welcome aboard, Melinda, and nice seeing some new faces. Kevin, looking forward to continue working with you all. I'm just filling in for Joe. He's on vacation, so you'll be seeing him again next meeting.
I didn't think you allowed vacations.
Of course we do.
Okay.
I just don't take many, unfortunately.
All right. So first up is approval of minutes for 5/11/2023. Do we have any edits, corrections, modifications?
You want to hold on those until later, till when Russ is here, since you.
Ken?
Oh wait, no, you were here. Never mind.
I was, yeah.
Okay, never mind. I thought for some reason I had in my head you weren't here, so we wouldn't have a quorum. So we're good. Wait, no, still it's Liz. Great. I'm sorry. So do you mind waiting until later, Mark, so we can get Russ? Okay.
Nope, I don't.
I don't see Peter in the audience. I do see the landowner. Oh, he just joined. Okay, we're good.
All right. So first public hearing is notice of intent, 65C School Street, map 75, lot 83. It's for the construction of a single family residence with associated site improvements. In accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw, the Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, June 1st, 2023 at 7 p.m. via virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider notice of intent for a project located at 65C School Street, map 75, lot 83 for the applicant, Nick Bertazzoni. The project description is to construct a single family residence with associated site improvements. Oh, Bertazzi, I'm sorry.
I think we lost Peter. Oh, he's coming. Okay. Peter, are you there? I can see his mic going on and off. I think he's trying.
I'm not even going to try the video yet. My computer is just being so glitchy here in the office, and I have no idea what's going on.
Are you on your phone?
No, I didn't try that. I'm on a laptop in the office. It's just being really glitchy at the moment.
Yeah, you have an echo, so it sounds like you got some other device enabled.
No.
It's tolerable.
Yeah, if I turn the volume, let's hang on for a second.
It's actually okay.
Is that a little better?
It's okay. We can deal with it.
Okay. All right. So what I might ask Melissa is if you don't mind illustrating the plan. You still there?
Yes.
All right. Okay, good.
It's shared on the screen, Peter, so you should be good.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And that is the adjusted, okay, good. So thank you, Peter Bemis, engineering design consultants, here on behalf of Nick Bertnazzi, and 23 School Street Southborough Realty Trust, that's the property owner. Basically, Nick's parents live next door. This is an extension of School Street. It's a private way, for those of you that aren't familiar with the location. We're just after the state property there, DCR property. And it's before you get up higher to the end of school. If I described it well enough for you to know where we are. This is the last lot on this private way, and was part of a review that was done by the commission back in the fall. Goddard Associates and Control Point were the wetland scientists and the surveyor of record at that time. Subsequent to their completion of the work in the fall, we needed to do a land court subdivision at this location. So we had told the Bertnazzis, either you're going to hire Control Point or you're going to hire us, but you're going to need to have a complete survey done here. And as part of our survey work, we basically started from scratch because we found there were some discrepancies in tree lines, tree positions, things just didn't make sense to us. And we started all over again. And as part of that, starting all over again, we located wetland flags, thinking that they were the adjusted flags. Because that's how I would have done the job. And I apologize, but we didn't realize they weren't adjusted until Joe just did his review. So we have a May 30th memo that tries to bring closure to that item. And I'll just kind of start with the whole project first, but I wanted to indicate that there has been an adjustment from the plans that you received as part of your packets. So the wetlands are still where the wetlands are. There just was an agreement to adjust their position in the field. So we are showing both the record location of their original field location and then their record location as part of the ORAD that you issued. And their wetland flags 1 through 20, if I remember right. I think 20 no one could find, and we didn't find it either. Again, the Bertnazzi family residence is to the upper left of the screen that you're seeing. We have proposed a driveway to come in off of the way, and that driveway is going to be a right entry coming in. We're trying to get the grade up to get in to the garage. Soil absorption systems in the front yard. Water services, electrical services will come in from the private way. This is the house that the kids wanted to build. To mitigate the stormwater related to this house, we have provided 6 separate infiltrator systems. These are Cultec units, and we did provide recently drainage calculations to support that. We could actually use the smaller unit for this proposal. We're keeping it with the larger unit, so we have added capacity. So there's actually more than what is typically required to mitigate stormwater impacts, and we have very good soil conditions here. We have a perk rate less than 2 minutes an inch, and we don't have a high groundwater table in the front part of the lot. It does get higher at the back, but we've lifted the grade up so that we have freeboard underneath our leaching units. So we are keeping it above the wetland to the rear. We don't have to clear a lot of trees here. There is some trees that do have to be cleared at the back part of the area. We do show the erosion control barrier at the 20-foot clearing limit. And there is a small wall that has to be built right to the rear, basically to establish that upper gradient that we're trying to do for the rear yard and have some separation to the lower area of the wetlands. There's a filter strip for the driveway, so we can mitigate that. And we are proposing a 2-to-1 gradient that is going to be a slope that either has a wildflower mix associated with it, or we've also defined that we could do it with arborvitaes, not arborvitaes, junipers, like a creeping, root-bearing type juniper, or some other equal. And we actually went so far as to put some notes to this effect, so that there was control for both us as designers and for the commission, so that its agent would be the only, either the engineer and or the agent can approve that change. Not independently though, together. Let's see, the other thing we did was Lucas's memo included discussion about invasives. There are bittersweet here, and there's likely to be a couple others. I didn't look at buckthorn and things like that, but likely is some buckthorn here too. But we did provide an invasive management plan. We too would like to try to get some areas cleaned up here. And so there's a 3-year program for that. We do it in conjunction with your agent, and you can reference that if you're inclined to support an order in that. So that's attached. I was going to say we also included a. There was another item about the longitude and latitude. For some reason, when we used the other program, it must have been off a little bit on longitude and latitude. So I attached the electronic version of the notice that we used at DEP's website to do the online. Have reviewed the soil absorption system with Dennis at the Board of Health. I think I can safely say I have a verbal from him. What we did, unfortunately, was when we delivered the plans yesterday to both Melissa and to Dennis, there's a provision on the software to plot. And when we plotted it, we didn't plot, we plot to fit. So what it does is it shrinks the plan ever so slightly. So instead of being 100, it was 98 feet to the soil absorption system. But I said to Dennis, there's an offset line that's at 100 feet in AutoCAD. So I know it's 100. That's the green line that you see on the plan. And so we plotted them again today, and we have those plans for both Melissa and for Dennis for the record. Be happy to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Lucas, do you have any commentary?
Joe had conducted a thorough review. He had several comments on this. I don't know if you want me to run through those. We have, excuse me, we haven't had a chance to review the revisions that Mr. Bemis submitted, primarily because Joe's on vacation. And Joe does need to verify the accuracy of the wetland line. I was not involved in the previous review, so he needs to take a look at that. That was probably one of the more significant comments. And if you want, I can briefly run through the others if you'd like on the memo.
Yeah, I guess just to make sure that Mr. Bemis understands what they are, and if there's any questions.
Sure. I know Joe had conducted a site inspection in November of 2022 with the ANRAD. At the time, he noted the tree line on the ANRAD site plan did not represent the edge of lawn. And he notes that the tree line on the current NOI has been revised and appears to accurately delineate the tree line based on, review of his photographs and aerials. There were several piles of leaves, yard waste within about 25 feet of the delineated wetland boundary. We want to make sure that I'm not sure if those piles are still out there. They were in November, but they should be removed if they're located within at least 20 feet. And if they're in undisturbed areas, they should be removed. There were several tree stumps, Joe noted, approximately 4 to 8 inch in diameter within 25 feet of the wetland line. He indicated that they appeared recently. They were cut, although it did not appear to be very recent. And then he mentioned the Oriental bittersweet. We'll have to review the invasive species management plan on that point that Mr. Bemis noted. And then the flag revisions. Comment number 2 was on the NOI line, which Joe can review when he's back from vacation next week. And let's see, then he noted the comment about the septic system. Obviously that appears to be revised. Again, Joe can confirm the boundary. We had several minor comments on the WPA form. One, the Latin longitude, which I believe Peter noted he corrected. We also note that the area is in an ORW. That was not noted on the form. We were just noting that. And then typically, there's usually some level of contact information beyond just the mailing address. I did skim. It seems that Mr. Bemis indicated that the owner would prefer not to provide that information. That's for the commission to discuss. We also had a question about the filing fee. We just wanted the commission to confirm that the appropriate fee was paid. And then we never received a copy of the checklist with the application. Wanted to make sure that that was actually submitted. As far as the actual site plan, the offset distances from the proposed work to the boundary were not provided on the original plan. I do see them up on the screen here, so hopefully that's been addressed adequately. Joe had a comment on the property line. The western property line appears to have changed since the ANRAD filing. Joe recommended confirmation on the property line boundaries and why they may have changed, and just to make sure we have some consistency there. Joe recommended that the applicant should describe the extent to which trees will be cut within the 100-foot buffer zone and which ones are to remain. I know it's a pretty large portion of the site's being developed there. Joe recommended a detail be provided for the construction entrance. I see a note here. We'll confirm that the detail has been added on the plans. That should be shown. There was no sizing for the 6 proposed recharge chambers. We recommend that be included on the plans. We recommend the stockpile location be shown on the site plan. I don't appear to see that here. That should be something that should be added to the plans to make it clear where the stockpile is going to be through site construction. And then the sediment erosion control plan methods identified preventing tracking of soil onto Middle and Turnpike roads. That should be corrected to School Street, and it should reference straw bales, not hay bales, as the commission prefers. And we do believe the ECB line, the erosion control barrier line on the plan is appropriately located. Although I would question now, looking at the plan now, to make sure that the erosion control line is not in the 20-foot. It looks like it's on it. I would just make sure that you're not putting the erosion controls in the 20-foot buffer zone. And then DEP issued a file number, but it doesn't appear they had any comments. So that's a short summary. And like we said, Joe needs to review all of this, which we intend to do next week, if the commission would like. But we've not had a chance to review Mr. Bemis's response, as we only just received it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bemis, do you have any further comments?
Just on the follow-up. So again, we had just gotten the comments from Lucas as well, so we addressed them like the day we got them. So I know we're all trying to get it done as quickly as possible. And we're using a very heavy line to do the erosion control barrier. It's not a thin line. So that's why it looks as though it's over it, but it's not. If you look at where the center of that line is, it's on the upland side of the wetland line. Excuse me, the 20-foot buffer zone line. I think that everything is here. I realize Joe's not here to have looked at it. I did send emails and I did try telephone calls and left messages and followed up with Melissa, but I suspected something was up. So the fact that he's away, I'm glad he got a vacation. Desperately need one of those. And we did try to address each one of these points. And we did provide a calculation for the chambers and the corrections that were asked for have been made. So I think that the project is in the position for consideration, but if we have to table it and wait 3 weeks, we have to table it. I'll leave it to your better judgment. Thank you. And I don't mind conditioning it on his satisfactory review too. That'll be the other way if that's acceptable. So we don't have to lose 3 weeks. Because I'm confident that everything's here.
All right, thanks. Any other comments from other commission members? Questions, comments?
just to clarify on the fee quickly, because it was brought up, we had leftover peer review funds from the ANRAD process. So we utilize those to carry over. So it's additional peer review. So the filing fee itself was paid correctly, but the supplemental peer review was not, because we did have money left from the ANRAD.
In my cover letter, I also told Melissa if there's any funding needed, now or going forward, administratively, we're more than happy to cover this.
All right, thanks. In the plan, Melissa, that you just showed us is the latest and greatest updated plan?
Yes, it's 2 sheets. We didn't go to the second sheet. My computer stopped being glitchy here. So Melissa, if you don't mind putting up the second sheet, or I can. The other details that Chris had mentioned are on there. So it shows the other components, the sedimentation, erosion control nodes. We actually went so far as to make this like a SWEP plan. Because of the, we recognize that we're doing an activity on this lot that looks extensive. It actually is less than 50% of the lot being altered. So it didn't trip the requirement for a stormwater permit. And I realize that process has been simplified more. But I said to Melissa, I'm treating this as if it needs it anyways. So we have all of the requisite notes on here. Stormwater is a very important component of this. We are capturing water from the roof and from the driveway. And there are procedures for the contractor to follow, pre-construction meeting, a sequence for construction. We do identify the stockpile area in words. It's not graphical only because there's just so much going on in the front of the lot as it is already. So we didn't want to complicate the plan further, but there are provisions for all of the things to do this project properly. Because we know we're adjacent to a sensitive area. So I do believe it's complete and thorough. Thank you.
In the notes for evasive removal?
Well, the invasives, I added that when I saw Joe's comment. I thought, well, and we just did this recently with you with the project at 200 Turnpike. So I pretty much followed the same formula, just made it applicable to this site. So it's not something you've not seen before. You've seen the invasive management plan that we're putting forward, and you're familiar with it, and it requires engagement with your agent to implement the program. We don't just do it on our own. We have to have Melissa's support and agreement.
Okay.
And this long-term O&M, what Melissa said that focused on, so they have to maintain these stormwater chambers. We really just set this up as if, in the end, the Bertonazzi's are going to live here. Their parents live next door. They're deliberately doing this project to be in their family compound. Almost all the homes on the street are owned by family members from different parts of their family tree.
Okay, thanks. The concern I have with conditioning it upon Joe's review and his satisfactory review is if he finds something that is awry and we've closed the hearing, we can't accept it moving forward. And that creates a logistical issue, right? That we'd have to go and somehow, open a hearing back up, amend what we did, so there's a 21-day appeal period anyways. I don't think that any of the neighbors are going to appeal because they're family. But
Agreed.
So I think I prefer to continue to the next meeting and have Joe have a review of this to make sure that the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, rather than closing it and possibly getting into some sort of a logistical clerical issue.
Okay, that's fine. If we can go into the meeting with an order draft order, that would be helpful, just so we can keep the process moving. So thank you.
Oh, Melissa's good at that.
Yeah, I know she is. Very good. All right, well, that's fine. Thank you for your time. And if there are other questions, I know if you want to open it to the public, I'm not sure if anybody else is out in the ether.
I will open to the public for any comments on this this hearing before us. Raise your hand, Melissa will let you in.
No hands.
No hands. Okay. If none of the commission members have any other comments, whatnot, I'll look for a motion to continue.
I will add one, there was one other comment that Chris raised too about the boundary. We had to do a land court subdivision here, so we did change the boundary limits, but they are the official limits now. So I can provide you with the plan of land, so I will supplement what I have, just so Joe sees that too. So thank you for letting me get that in.
Okay. So again, I'm looking for a motion to continue to the next meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor by roll call vote?
Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Upton,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Perfect.
Great. All right, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Well, I'm here. You're gonna take up 6 to 8, and would it be appropriate to do it now, or do you want me to wait?
No. For 22. Lovers.
Would you say, Melissa?
No one's here for 22 lovers.
Okay, so we can do 6 to 8, Turnpike Road.
Thank you.
So that's a request for certificate of compliance.
Yeah, so since the last meeting, we did get the review from Fussin O'Neill. A lot of the comments related to planning board requirements for the site plan. So those, Peter provided a response to planning and I put it in the Dropbox as well. Just a reminder, this was an amendment to the stormwater permit. They moved the kind of above ground system underground. So it has been stabilized. The erosion controls have been removed. I think there's just one rut left over from when they were constructing it, Peter. I noticed that today on like the exit side. It almost looked like they tried to take a ramp ride up.
Yeah, I think the whole area needs to be somewhat seeded again, but just the timing is terrible with the way, we really didn't have a spring. Because there was times that I was thinking, well, we'll go out there to try to do it, but there's been no grass growing season, there's no irrigation there. I know in the fall that he will top dress this, because Newport owes him that. But I'd like to try to close this out. This is one of those clients that's been holding me over a barrel, so to speak. So if I could close it out, I'd be grateful. If I understand if you feel as though there's not enough grass growth, but there's no erodible surface there, but the grass growth is thin. I'll acknowledge that.
I didn't see any pictures of the rut, Melissa. Can you
I
expand on-
don't have a picture, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unless it's in the Fussin O'Neill comments, possibly.
How big is this rut?
I mean, it's definitely been there. Like there is grass growing in within the rut. And I agree with Peter, it hasn't gone anywhere. So it's just, you can tell it's one tire, one side of a truck that just kind of, I think, launched itself a little bit up the side.
And do you feel that there's risk of erosion?
I think as long as it's kept up, reseeding and just care, in the next even month, I wouldn't expect it to, as long as no one else drives on it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem committing to trying to seed it now. I mean, we're actually going to get a couple of days of rain, but who knows what's after that. Just it's really not been a very good season for grass growth. The month of May was just few and far between for rain events.
Well, it sounds like the next week's going to be somewhat of a mixed bag between coolness, dampness, and a little bit of sun. So if you get some stuff that takes fast, you might have a chance.
Yeah, well, I'll commit to that. Even if I have to go there and do it myself, it's not that hard. So sure. If that.
We know Lowe's sells the stuff that they say will grow on asphalt. I've had no luck with it. I'll just tell you that.
Yeah. No, we would use a contractor's mix. I mean, that's going to have the most success. And there's going to be a few days. I'm just getting a few days of rain and some sun. We might get lucky.
Yeah. So
I spent a little bit of time with Dennis today and Peter. And if you remember, Peter, he was discussing pre-charging that grass seed. This might be the perfect place
I
to
won't
try it.
I won't tell you how he was pre-charging it, though. I don't think anyone's gonna like that story, Russell.
It might be the perfect place to try that.
It's a great idea. Yeah.
So,
Pre-charged grass seed?
so soaking the grass seed, and you're cutting down on the germination time. It's pretty ingenious, I think. I don't know why I never thought of it.
Right.
How long does it work?
Dennis claims it swears up and down by it.
Oh.
Yeah. His story had a little side note to it about the grass seed having an odor.
That was only one of the stories.
I know, this is right. It's not the takeaway. The takeaway is wetting the grass seed ahead of time. But this grass seed happened to be wet by something else other than water. So,
All right, we'll leave that at that.
yeah, leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, no, Russell, I think you're right. It'd be worth trying that for sure. And I'm committed to doing it. So again, if you folks can find a way to let this one go, I'd appreciate it. Only because the planning board is going to meet between now and your next meeting. And I really would like to get 6 to 8 Turnpike Road off my back, so to speak. So.
Any other opinions?
Mark, I would just like to add one thing. The if you're gonna allow that and do the seeding now, I'd recommend irrigation. Whether it's a truck coming by watering from time to time or setting up some kind of irrigation, because
Yeah, I think he ought to be able to do that, Peter. He'd run a hose out there and set up some.
Yeah,
sprinklers.
I can tell Tony to do that. Yeah, I understand, Chris, right, there's no irrigation there, Chris, but watering certainly.
But get it
would work.
established. He's not an invalid. He can handle that.
You think? I'll take that under advisement.
Do we want to hold on this one?
I can go either way. I'm kind of looking for other commission members' opinions.
So from the contractor side of things, I get the money. And boy, is it rough when somebody's holding you hostage. You know, I go by there fairly often. It's not great, but you know, I get it. Nothing has washed down the whole time they were working there. So I don't expect it to wash out any further now. That's my 2
mean,
cents.
If it's an erosion risk, I would lean to, you know, closing this out with the commitment that they're going to improve on it.
Just, I'm wondering about the rut. Is there a need to repair the rut as you're doing the grass? Or is that something that you'll just seed over?
No, we would fix it. What Melissa's describing is that it is the contractor probably when he pulled out did drive over it. Because I can't imagine any of Tony's people did it. I mean,
No, it was the
mostly car
contractor.
repair.
I think he backed the trailer into it. It's kind of that kind of a gouge.
Right.
And, you know, the material's all there. You probably just need to trump it back together.
And it's not particularly deep either. You know, you can see it, but it's not, you know, it's not even more than probably an inch, I think. You know, it's not very deep.
Would you even mess with it since there's grass growing in it?
I think you could get away with none as long as you keep on the seed. But you're definitely probably going to see it forever if you leave it.
You probably want to. Somebody's going to have to mow that thing, and then he's going to have the lawnmower bouncing all over the place, and just do it once.
Oh, now I'm leaning to continuing this. If we're gonna start moving dirt around.
I mean,
I'm fine.
Look,
Whatever way you feel you have to go with it, I'm fine with it, really.
I mean, if we're gonna disturb the soil and, you know,
Mark,
start
the
raking and
amount
stuff.
the amount of dirt is, I'm not sure about the depth. Melissa, I've only seen it at, you know, at speed going by, but it caught my eye the very day it happened. And it's maybe 6 feet long by a foot wide.
Mhm.
It's not a lot of dirt.
But it is going to be raw dirt until the seed gets established.
Piece of sod? That'll cook out there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a bad idea, Russ. I'd rather try to wet the seed.
Yeah,
All right, I'd say let's continue this till the next hearing and see how successful we are in the next 3 weeks of getting
Okay.
some grass to
Mark,
grow.
I'm good with it. It's on the list and Tony knew it was there, so the fact that I go back and say it didn't happen, there's a reason for it, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Thanks for your consideration, appreciate it.
Okay, so we'll table that till the next meeting, Melissa. Back to 22 Lovers Lane, certificate of compliance.
So I went back today and, no, I'm just kicking Peter out. I went back today and took some pictures. So there is grass growth. I did upload them to the Dropbox. There is, some spots that have dipped a little bit in terms of where those wooden planks are at the end of the retaining wall, or at the top of the retaining wall, but no visible kind of erosion underneath it. That sinkhole in the corner is, stable. I've walked on it. It doesn't squish, for lack of better term. They definitely mowed it. There's some not bare spots, but where it's a little bit sparser, but it's definitely over the 80%, or even 85% that we usually look for. So I am a lot more comfortable than last week or last meeting issuing the COC, just based on the fact that it has not seeped through the wall as it was previously.
All right. Thank you. Any further discussion? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion for issuing a certificate of compliance for 22 Lovers Lane?
So moved.
There's a second.
second,
Okay. All in favor?
Rulick,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes,
Gregory,
yes.
Matsumoto.
Yes. All right, request for extension Sudbury Reservoir boat ramps.
Yes, and I do have Brian from DCI here in case we have any questions. But ultimately, they are looking to extend their permit for 2 years to get these boat ramp improvements completed. So extending until 2025.
All right. Any questions or discussions?
Have they done anything to this point?
I believe not. And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, we have not done anything yet.
Okay.
Any other discussion, questions? Now, you do expect to complete this within a year and a half or so?
That's correct. Yeah, we're looking to get started this summer. It just took us some time to get the order conditions recorded and then to get the materials. We had some other projects going on, but it is in our queue for this summer. So looking to do it soon and then obviously get the site stabilization by 2025. I mean, it's not much to stabilize. It's gonna be a lot of riprap and stuff like that. So that's our intent.
All right. Thank you. All right, so do I hear a motion to issue an extension for 2 years for the Sudbury Reservoir boat ramps, DEP number 290-1060?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor by roll call vote?
Rulick,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Upton. I didn't hear you, Melinda.
yes,
Oh, thank you. Gregory,
Yes.
Matsumoto.
Yes.
You were too quick for me, Melinda. All All right. Thank you, Brian. I'll get this to you probably tomorrow morning.
Great, thank you.
Right.
Okay. Are we on to the Mass Wildlife presentation?
You sure are. Chris, if you wanted to knock out, I think you're good to go. There's nothing else that we have you on for, I think.
Okay, great. Well, it was a pleasure seeing you all again and meeting some of you new folks here, and looking forward to keep working with you. All right.
Nice to see you, Chris. Thank you.
Good to see you,
Thank you.
Chris.
You too, Russ. I'll be in touch. Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, and I am very happy to invite Sarah and Alec here from Mass Wildlife to go over what they've been working on in terms of the biomap. Some of you, they'll give a good background to it, but I know we've utilized it in the past. The past has kind of been a big map on the wall that we've kept that we look at, but now it's a little bit more usable. So I will let you two take it away, and you should be able to screen share.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for having us. All right, I will get this going. Bear with me. All right, this should be it. Does that look good?
Looks good.
Great. All right, I'm actually going to hand it off to Alec to get us started.
Thanks, Erin. Thank you all so much for inviting us to speak tonight. And just before we get a quick start, let me go back to and see everybody. So you heard most of the familiar, just by a quick raise of hands, who's heard of Biomap before or has seen the new version? Just a quick update. All right.
Well,
That's
you said heard of Biomap. Yes. Seen the quick update? No.
Okay. Great. Well, they'll have a good amount of information for you all tonight. Certainly feel free to jump in with questions, but that's great to hear. So Sarah and I are both Biomap outreach specialists with Mass Wildlife. However, Biomap is a product of ongoing collaboration between Mass Wildlife and the Nature Conservancy. So we just wanted to mention that our team involves 2 other members as well. But our job is to spread awareness of the new biomap through webinars and presentations like this, as well as providing some user support to all different types of users. And so we're really here to present this new biomap and an understanding of how it can help support your conservation work or prioritization for conservation in your community, and as well as just gain some feedback and insight from you on how it can be useful or improved to help support you. So just a quick agenda. We're going to do some slides and go through a little bit, and we'll show you the website and the interactive mapper, and then we'll take some time for questions and discussion from there. All right. So, as you're all aware, I certainly don't have to tell you, Massachusetts is really teeming with a lot of life. It's nearly 3 million acres of forest. It's 1,500 miles of coastline, and vast network of rivers and critical wetlands support diverse natural ecosystems, which provide habitat for a wide variety of plants and animals. And these natural systems offer vital ecological benefits. They filter our air, they clean our water, and provide food and economic opportunities. And they mitigate the detrimental effects of climate change and provide us with recreational opportunities, all of which are really enriching the qualities of our lives. And the people of the Commonwealth have spent decades protecting these incredible natural resources to help ensure that all life, plants, animals, and people can thrive. However, there is despite the significant progress and conservation success, our biodiversity really is at crisis at the global, national, and state scale. In Massachusetts, we currently have 432 species on our endangered species list. And threats to our biodiversity include such things as habitat loss and fragmentation, invasive species, as you were discussing tonight, and emerging diseases. And all of these are really being compounded by climate change. A recent UN climate report recognized the interdependence of climate, ecosystems, biodiversity, and human societies. And if we really want to reverse these trends, urgent action is needed. And that's why we're here today, to introduce you to Biomap, the future of conservation in Massachusetts. And so a quick little background on those who may not be familiar with previous iterations. Massachusetts really has a long history of being a leader with the development of groundbreaking conservation tools, with Biomap in 2001, Living Waters in 2003, and then Biomap 2 in 2010. And over the years, these products really have provided a great framework for protection and stewardship of lands and waters critical for biodiversity conservation. It's been heavily utilized by land trusts, state agencies, and a growing number of municipalities, as well as others that have been considering a trusted and credible source of information. As I said, this is a result of the ongoing collaboration between Mass Wildlife and the Massachusetts chapter of the Nature Conservancy, with similar missions, goals, and science-based approaches to conservation. Really are great partners to produce and maintain Biomap moving forward. And with this latest iteration, we really go even further, and we're excited to share with you some of those new innovations. So we see really Biomap as more than just a map. We see it as a map, a tool, and a vision for the Commonwealth, for the people of the Commonwealth to come together to strategically protect, manage, and restore lands and waters that are most important for conserving biodiversity in Massachusetts now and in long into the future. And again, for those who are familiar with Biomap, it looks very similar to the previous versions, but we'll go through all the different components today. So the first two conservation targets are grouped into two main elements that you see here. We have core habitat and critical natural landscapes. Now, core habitat, which you see in the darker green, identify areas that are critical for long-term persistence of rare species and a wide diversity of resilient ecosystems. Now, critical natural landscapes in the light green identifies large landscapes and habitat buffers that enhance resiliency, maintain connectivity, and support ecological processes.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, why do you use two different shades of green? Because they're hard to distinguish. Why wouldn't you pick a different color?
Yeah, good question. We'll see in a sec that there's quite a lot of colors that go into this.
All right.
So there's, we had to make a lot of different choices with that. And I understand at this kind of statewide view, it's hard to distinguish between them. When we zoom in, it kind of gets a better understanding of those differences in the colors. But yes, we have many colors and took us a lot of time to decide on which ones. But we generally, our brains kind of think green and nature kind of go well together.
Green's great. It's
Yeah.
just that the shades are so close together that you really gotta stare hard at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, at this scale, totally understand. It's very, very hard to do. There are ways that you can kind of change the colors yourselves in things like Mass Mapper, if that works with your eyes better. But we'll go over. There's a lot of color differentiation between the different components in here.
Yeah, I'll just pop in and say that when you zoom in, if you're looking at it, like Alex said, at a more closer scale, the difference is more distinguishable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'll go on to next slide. Speaking of breaking it up.
Yeah, so together those two make up about 2.4 million acres in the state, and about 90% of Biomap 2 is included in this current update. There is some shift due to things like new development and new areas added due to things like new data and new methodologies. But as I said, so that's looking at the groups of core habitat and critical natural landscapes. But if we break it down into their different components, you can see them listed here. And those are going to be in different colors, which we'll show you in just a second. So things like rare species cores, priority natural communities, coastal adaptations, as well as those habitat buffers, and many more that would go into it. But if we go to the next slide, you can see, looking at the map, this is that if you zoomed in, you can see some distinction a little bit better between the different greens. But if we peel it back to look at these components, now you can see all the different colors that identify each of those different components. So it allows you to dive into the data a little bit more. We have those two versions because that umbrella element view can help understanding just the general footprint, and these components can dive deeper into what's going on in those specific habitats. And so we've updated these data layers with latest information on species and habitats and enhanced some components such as aquatic core with new methodologies. We also, with this iteration, have included a new local and regional components, which I'll turn it over to Sarah to discuss.
Thanks. Yeah, and hopefully that visual showed how the colors can become more differentiated with the mapper, and we can also show that during the demo. But yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the local habitats, which is a new innovation with Biomap that we're really excited about. And these are locally important habitats that are relevant for municipal planning and action. So they're designed specifically for municipalities. And this is because almost every town has some amount of core habitat or critical natural landscape. But as we know in Massachusetts, there's a real variety in these patterns of developed and natural lands, even from town to town. So the amount of this statewide habitat within them varies significantly. And the local components are designed to add to each town's understanding of their important natural resources. And I can demonstrate this with a few examples. So this first one shows landscape blocks. These are a component of critical natural landscape. They use ecological integrity data to identify large, intact mosaics of forest, wetland, and freshwater habitat. They support wide-ranging species like moose and black bear, and the resilience and abundance of many wildlife and plant species. And the landscape blocks are defined from a statewide perspective, as we're seeing them right now, which is the largest blocks in each region of the state. But as we can see, the abundance is not equal. You know, they're more abundant in some parts of the state than others, and many cities and towns in this particular region don't have any. But if we add in the new local version of landscape blocks, which we're calling local landscapes, which use the same concept, they identify the most intact natural landscapes within each city and town, the same ecological integrity data, but this time from the scale of each municipality, basically, one at a time. So we're really, we hope that these local components make Biomap more relevant and applicable for many more communities. And yeah, it's been great to discuss them with towns as we've been talking to different conservation commissions and open space committees. So we look forward to hearing your feedback. But on the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about the regional connectivity, which is another innovation in Biomap. And on the other end of the scale, these are identifying habitats that make a significant contribution to conservation at scales beyond Massachusetts, because as we know, plants and animals, don't know Connecticut from Massachusetts or Massachusetts from Vermont. And this was, really motivated by the idea that species are really projected to change their ranges, shift their ranges. And one example is that tree populations, according to a recent study, are projected to shift north and west due to climate change at about 10 miles a decade. And as an example, the tulip tree, which we see in this picture, is projected to shift its range significantly northward through Massachusetts, when before it was existed in some more southern habitats. So now Biomap includes regional connectivity data that identifies places supporting these large-scale range shifts, as well as important habitats for rare species that are highly vulnerable at regional, national, or global scales. So with all of that being said, we can take a look at Southborough. About 15% of Southborough is core habitat, which we can see in that dark green, and 22% is critical natural landscape in the light green. But then we can peel it back like we showed earlier and take a look at the individual components. So we can see within core habitat, we have aquatic core, being the Sudbury Reservoir, as well as vernal pool core, which is represented by the red. And there's a large landscape block on the northeast side of the Sudbury Reservoir. But then we can add in the local components. It's a great visual. I went back to just the core habitat critical natural landscape view so we can really see those local components pop out on the map. It's about 12% of Southborough. And some of the local components, let's see, we've got local vernal pools kind of in that light red. Local wetland habitats, as well as wetland habitat buffers at that local scale, and local landscapes kind of in that beigeish color. So that's a great visual representation of how that local data can add. And it's important to mention the local data, it does sometimes overlap with the statewide data, but it's not meant to replace it. They're meant to be used together as they are designed to complement one another. So just a note on that. So the view as we're seeing it here is how they're meant to be seen. One layer that's available on the interactive mapper that we will show is the permanently protected open space layer, which is maintained by MassGIS. This identifies places that are protected in perpetuity, and the places that are owned by the town we have highlighted in red. And just a few examples, it's a great, visual overlay to see where protected space intersects with biomap data. So we've got, of course, the Sudbury Reservoir here, that statewide local aquatic habitat, as well as buffers, which we know are very important. The Southborough Town Forest, designated as local vernal pool course, as well as the Chestnut Hill Farms owned by the trustees, which is a local landscape, those intact areas within your town, as well as local wetland habitat, which is right just north of it. So it supports that as well.
What's the outlined in red, but looks like it's got some speckles? It's not on your legend. What is that? Just kind of to the left and up of the Chestnut Hill Farm box.
This area outlined, this area, I don't know if you can see my mouse.
Yeah, that's it right there. What is
So
that?
that's a property owned by the town. I'm not sure exactly the name of the property, if it has a name. It might just be under a CR, but it was identified as owned by the town. So that's what the red outline symbolizes, and
Well, it doesn't have the lines through it that the others do.
Yeah, that might be because of just the shape is a little odd.
All right.
Yeah, I think perhaps if you were to zoom in very close to that particular polygon, you'd see it, but because it's kind of in that narrow U shape, I don't think we're able to see the crosshatch, but it does have it like the rest
Okay.
of the polygons.
And I just took a quick look. It looks like it's Barn Hollow Conservation Area.
Thanks. All right. Okay, I'm gonna turn it back over to Alec. To talk a little bit more about Biomap. That's what we're here to do.
So that was just putting together all those different components. Looking at it from a municipal scale is really helpful. But we want to take a quick moment to highlight the difference between Biomap and another data set, a map that you might be familiar with through natural heritage, which is known as Priority Habitat for Rare Species. And so Priority Habitat is codified under Massachusetts Endangered Species Act and is the regulatory screening tool to allow the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program to review projects or activities for those impacts to state listed species. Priority habitat data can be viewed on MassMapper, and it is different from Biomap. Biomap is strictly a non-regulatory and fundamentally a tool for planning and prioritization of conservation actions. So we just want to make that clear. You can view both of these data in MassMapper if you're familiar with that, or on ArcGIS Online. So you can see the overlap of where these data exist together. They do work together, but just in making that note, this is not meant for regulatory actions. But because it goes a little bit further than the priority habitat data. And we can show you in many different ways, and later on with the map and the website, we now have a lot of different resources to go into depths about why it's important to prioritization, look at conservation in this proactive planning process. So the new website does include a interactive mapper that you see here. It allows users to customize the data and display that data to meet their interests and needs. So for example, filtering by different components, maybe you're only interested in looking at aquatic habitats, or selecting the data that are relevant at different scales, right? That local, state, or regional scale. It does also include a new tool that enables users to draw a specific area of interest to derive information and summary statistics for that area, as well as create a map for that drawn area. So we can go over that after a few slides, but as I said, this data is also available on MassMapper, ArcGIS Online, and you can download it to use in your GIS software that if you're more of a GIS user for that. But really what we see the value of Biomap is going from this understanding of the information to implementation on the ground. And Biomap supports a wide variety of conservation strategies. Biomap habitats really occur in a wide variety of settings, and each will need a specific combination of conservation strategies, maybe a single approach, or many may require multiple actions to achieve that conservation success. One of those essential such strategies is land protection to stop habitat loss and fragmentation. As we said earlier, the core habitat and critical natural landscape make up about 2.4 million acres in the state. This map shows, it's a little hard to see at this scale, but that orange area is showing the areas that are currently permanently protected open space. That covers about 44% of the biomap area. So it's great to see how that overlap is and where those areas are in relation to biomap. And just as a quick note, over the 200,000 acres of land protection that took place in Massachusetts between 2009 and 2022, 62% of which occurred within the bounds of biomap 2. So we hope this new iteration will continue to focus conservation funding and efforts in these critically important habitats. But we also know that land protection is essential. It's not always enough. Unfortunately, about 40% of rare and declining species in Massachusetts do require active management of their habitats. And so therefore, habitat restoration and management are now key elements of the Commonwealth's biomap strategy. Biomap now includes this Habitat Restoration Resource Center, which provides our conservation partners with recommendations and resources for stewardship actions and that promote habitat resilience and restore ecological processes, as well as prepare habitats to recover from and adapt to climate change. So there's quite a lot of resources on there, and we won't go through all of them, but there's guidance for land managers on restoration and management priorities, as well as site planning if you're new to maybe writing a management plan. There are fact sheets that include information on these different upland, wetland, and aquatic habitats across the state, and on specific practices such as prescribed fires or mowing and mulching and invasive plant control. It also includes resources for technical assistance and identifying potential funding opportunities if you're in need of that.
I'm going to talk a little bit on this slide about the addition of climate resilience data into biomap, which was another key innovation for this update. And biomap identifies places that help plants and animals and people cope with the impact of climate change. And on this map, we can see this is the Nature Conservancy's climate resilience data. And this data was built into 3 of the components, wetland core, forest core, and landscape blocks. And as we can see, the map's a little small, but the darker green areas identify ecosystems and landscapes with diverse topography, as well as habitat connectivity, which allows plants and animals to move to suitable habitat in response to changes in temperature and precipitation. So just a note on the integration of that data. To talk a little bit more about planning and funding, the new biomap will continue to support conservation planning, funding, and collaboration. The idea being it will inform and direct millions of conservation dollars each year. And this makes sense because biomap habitats are designed to stand the test of time and support biodiversity and resilience now and long into the future. So it's the idea of a high return on investment for conservation dollars. And there's a lot of great plans that rely on biomap, from state agencies to land trusts and a growing number of municipal plans. And we think with this local data, we're really excited by these opportunities for towns to take advantage of this data, as well as with grant opportunities that are provided by open space and recreation plans. And from a funding, perspective, there's, speaking of grants, the Massachusetts Division of Conservation Services uses biomap to guide several different grant programs. And finally, just a note on this, we believe that, the best conservation projects are collaborations among multiple organizations, agencies, and communities. And we really see biomap as a tool to bring people together to foster these robust partnerships. So that's the word on planning and funding collaboration, and I'll turn it back over to Alec.
So yeah, lastly, just with the new biomap website, we also have a critical piece in the strategy of active education engagement, as Sarah and I, as being the outreach specialists, are able to provide our time for all types of user support. But also at the same time, the website has a lot of different resources and opportunities to learn more about the critically important habitats and ecosystems in and around our communities. And so these resources include things like story maps, which are these interactive web pages that walk you through a lot of the information we discussed today, as well as walking users through how to utilize biomap, such as the map that's in there, and all the different pieces that go into it. It also includes, you see on the right, these fact sheets, so that go into the details on the data, the methodologies, and the conservation strategies for each component. And so this awareness or ecological literacy will really allow individuals and groups to engage, take action, and make informed decisions. We really see that as a helpful, as biomap as a helpful implementation for this vision that we see with the future in which the people of the Commonwealth really invest in strategic protection and stewardship of the lands and waters that are most important for conserving biodiversity. And in this future, we really see the vital natural systems continuing to protect us against the damaging effects of climate change. They continue to provide clean air and clean water, employment opportunities, and beautiful spaces for recreation. And they continue to ensure that all Massachusetts residents have access to nature and enjoy the benefits of these rich natural heritage. And with biomap, we hope that we can continue to protect the extraordinary biodiversity and vibrant quality of life now and for future generations. We would be remiss without stating that this was a huge team effort. Many names that you see here, and wouldn't be possible without financial support from Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs and many other donors you see here. And again, just many names. I'm really grateful for all the work that went into it. But with that, this is the new short link to biomap. You can go directly to the homepage to go over a lot of the information that we talked about here. You may have noticed we've been calling it just biomap and not biomap 3. That's because it is, the idea is that it's going to be more of a living product, which we'll be able to adapt more frequently moving forward. And so this website and the interactive mapper and all the data that is out there will hopefully be continuing to update as we see different changes in the sourced information or new data sets or methodologies that come out. But to take as we said, we can go through the website and mapper if you feel like that would be helpful for everyone to take a view. Would that be, should we take a look at, wait, I lost everybody. Would you like to take a look at the website and mapper? Or do we want to take some questions instead?
I mean, I've got the demo prepped, so I can just do it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully that looks good to everybody.
Yep.
Great. All right. So when you go to that link, mass.gov/biomap, this is what you'll find. And there's a lot of resources here on the homepage. A lot of this is the information that we've covered in this presentation, such as, what is biomap, the different components, what's new, what's changed from previous versions, and as well as how to use biomap, which I'll kind of show later in this demo. But this is all great resources to either refresh your own memory or to point others to if they're interested. The map itself is embedded in the homepage, but you can also open it in a new tab, which I did. Yeah, and I'll just mention here at the bottom, the data downloads and resources page. If you're somebody who uses ArcGIS on a desktop and wants to download that data, on this page, you can go to the MassGIS link, and it will take you to a place where you can download the data. I'll also mention that we have a technical report that's in the works, and if you're somebody who really wants to go into the heavy duty technical details, that will be available soon and will also be on this page. The Connect with Us page, we also like to highlight just because, we're really interested in hearing feedback. There's an email there, the Natural Heritage email, which we monitor that inbox for any questions that come in, as well as a form to fill out if that's what you'd prefer. So definitely encourage people to use that if they have any feedback, or our personal emails were on this beginning slide, and I'm sure Melissa can share them if you have questions as well. So that's just a brief overview of the homepage. If you were to click on the components tab here, you'll see all the information we talked about, as well as beyond the details into core habitat, critical natural landscape, shown via story map, which is a really nice interactive version of a web page that uses images, and it's just a bit more dynamic. We also have one for the local and regional components. But if you want to jump, right to a specific component as well, we have these fact sheets that provide summary statistics and further background information on all of these different components. So we certainly encourage people to take a look at these. the Habitat Restoration Resource Center, which we spoke about towards the end of the presentation, also accessible here on that top bar. And this has a lot of great information. This first page here is a story map, so I'll use that. I prepped that as an example. Just a quick view of how a story map works. You can see it's just a bit more dynamic, interactive, and how it formats the information. And a lot of the story maps on our hub site will link back to different story maps, different pages. So it's a great way to explore what we've got. We also have these tabs for the habitats and management recommendations, which basically identifies all of the upland, wetland, and aquatic habitats in the state, and talks about what threats might be out there, as well as different restoration practices that you can use, as well as the management priorities and planning. It's a great place to go if you're somebody new to planning or you just want some more information. There's really a lot to explore here, and because we respect your time, I'm not going to go into the details of all of them, but just giving kind of a cursory view of what we've got here. Finally, this button for technical support and funding is a great place to go if you're looking into grants, and a lot of these grants have Biomap in their criteria. But I'll go to the main event, the map here. As we can see, very interactive. You can drag it around the screen. This top left corner is a great place to start. You can zoom in and out with these buttons, plus or minus. The home button takes you to the default extent. And this button, My Location, is one we really like to highlight because Biomap is compatible with mobile devices, both the website and the map itself. And My Location will actually track you to your location when you're using the map. So if you were doing a site visit or out in the field, you can use that button and see where you are on Biomap. So we like to highlight that. The base map gallery here on the left allows you to change the background of the map. So if potentially you wanted to see it more as an aerial image, this is great, for land use visualization. You can change it. I'm going to change it back. And this center tab right here is the Select Data panel. And this is really where you can interact with the data, turn the different layers on and off. And I'm going to zoom in. So as you can see, I just typed the town name in here and clicked enter, and it took us there. It has this pop-up window, but you can just close that. And you can see some of these layers, like the assessor's parcels, which we also have in addition to permanently protected open space. They're gray, which means you're not at the right scale. So if you're interacting with the map and you're not seeing the data you expect to see, just make sure you're zoomed in or zoomed out enough. That's a note we like to make. But as we can see, I have the elements view, so just core and critical natural landscape in this collapsible menu. If I was interested in seeing the components broken up individually into all those colors, I can select these. And as you can see, the legend over here on the right does change automatically. The reason we're not seeing it on the map is because the elements are on top because of the order on the data panel. So whatever is above it is going to be on top of it on the map. But if I were to uncheck that, now we can see all the colors. And a great part about Biomap, something that does distinguish it from MassMapper, is that if you click on a polygon, and it might take a minute to load, sometimes that happens. There we go. You get a pop-up window which describes what you've clicked on, and it highlights it. So as we can see, I've clicked on an aquatic core buffer. And then in this top left corner, it says 1 of 3. So there's actually 3 different polygons here. And I can use this triangle to tab through. So I have an aquatic core buffer, as well as an aquatic core, and a landscape block. So that's a great feature that we like to highlight. I will take us now, I'm going to turn this one element view back off, deselect those and turn on the local components. So there they are. I'm going to show, just to kind of bring us toward the end of this demonstration, the summary report tool, which allows you to create a report that can be printed or saved as a PDF for an area of interest. So if I click on summary report, I can see place name and draw. So I'll start with place name. This is if you're looking to summarize an entire town. So I will stick to Southborough. You click report, and it sometimes takes a minute to load depending on your internet connection and the server. But when it's finished, this print button will become clickable, so to speak. You can choose your layout. Portrait is the default, and you can see it's pretty standard. I have it preloaded here, but this is what it looks like. It highlights it. You can edit this title. There's a legend and a scale bar, and it creates this nice image capture. Make sure that whatever layers you want saved in the image, you have selected when you run the report. It basically takes like a snapshot of what you have active on the map in that moment. So just a note on that, make sure you have selected what you want to see in your report. But then we can see it provides this information. First, all of the different components, how many different polygons there are in their acreages, and then it breaks it up by each individual element and then component. We get this question a lot about what the numbers mean. They don't have external significance. They're just an organizational tool, but I will show you a functionality. If we go back to the summary report, if I expand any of these menus using the plus sign, you can see which polygons are referred to by that number. So if I were to click on that, it's highlighted which polygon that is. So 1878, that's what that polygon is. So that's a great functionality. And the last thing I'll show before we wrap it up, I will turn on the assessor's parcels layer, and we will zoom in because that's one of those scale dependent ones. But there it is. And we have this great feature on the summary report tool, and I click start over, that first you can either freehand draw a polygon just by clicking around, but you can also select on the assessor's parcels layer a specific parcel, so you don't have to painstakingly draw their border. And you can do, it says press down to start, let go to finish. I can just draw a shape here and it will select those. You can also add parcels by clicking this, holding shift and adding those. So that's great. And you can run a report for these too. So just like before, that print button is available. I preloaded the report as well, just to save us some time. And you can see it's the same format, gives you that legend and scale bar, the option to add caption or comments, and the same idea. Since it's just local wetlands and local wetlands buffer, it's a little bit shorter, but it has the same format as the other report. All right, I know that was a lot, but just wanted to give a quick tour. And of course, we're available for questions after this meeting as well, if you play around with it and questions come up. But I think we can end there and answer some questions.
Thank you. Nice tool. Anybody have any questions? No?
Digest, maybe come back to it.
Sure. Totally acceptable. We're happy to answer questions now or later. Yeah, feel free to play around with it. Yeah, explore what we have there. And yeah, feel free, Melissa, to share our emails if anyone has questions.
Cool.
Yeah, well, thanks
Well,
so
great.
much for, oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, thank you for taking the time and coming tonight. Presentation well done. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I was going to thank you for your time and your ears and consideration listening to our presentation.
My ears.
Right. Your ears and your eyes.
And Russ moved indoors.
All right.
Mosquitoes getting thick.
It's common.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you both.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
again.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Good one.
Have a good night.
All right, so I guess with that, it's a wrap.
Yes, we do have still minutes and a couple other things at the end.
Oh, we do?
Yes, I'm sorry. So we'll go back to the minutes because we were waiting for.
Oh, the minutes, that's right. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for the reminder. So we have approval of the minutes of May 11th, 2023. So we're looking for any sort of corrections, amendments, additions, omissions. Russ, we're waiting for you to join the meeting, so we postpone it to the end here.
I've got nothing.
Got nothing? Okay. I've got nothing.
I thought they were great.
Good to me.
All right, so with that, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes of May 11th, 2023 as written?
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Farrington,
Yes.
Upton. Oh, I think you say it too quickly for your mic to pick it up. Are you good, Melinda? Sorry. Yes. Okay. Gregory,
Yes.
Osmato.
Yes.
And just for the record, Liz did leave life with a newborn is rough. So.
Oh,
All right. And then in terms of agent reports, open and active sites. So I did send out a couple fixture ECBs, erosion controls today for Fayville Hall, the historic home on Sears Road, that corner lot from Main Street and Sears. 10 Turnpike. Russ, was there one more? I definitely did one more, but I can't remember. Just a heads up, 200 Turnpike, which is that contractor's yard that backs up to the DPW. They're getting started soon. They've done some of the tree clearing, their erosion controls are in, etc. So, you know, as you're, even if you go in parts of the DPW, if you're on that weird section of Middle Road, it's open all of a sudden now where it's been previously, you know, wooded. So that's what's happening there. And then for Willow Street, I did forward you the email right before the meeting from Power Corporation, kind of outlining, in a more succinct, clear way than I definitely did, regarding what they are kind of looking for guidance for us in terms of the Willow Street culvert collapse / repair. So they're essentially asking, you know, kind of what would the commission like to see in terms of whether it's an application, whether it's an emergency certification or order in the meantime to get some of this work done. So they're looking for the temporary fix of raising the culvert elevation about a foot because of so much muck. There were beavers, just kind of sedimentation, erosion in general. So it's kind of been a multifaceted kind of issue, but that muck kind of layer at the bottom of the stream is very deep, and it is now, you know, too high enough that it is basically blocking the inlet of the culvert. So only a very small amount is coming through. Therefore, it undermined the road. So they're looking to at least do the temporary fix with the same size piping, just at a higher elevation, which would create the open system as it originally was versus kind of an equalizer as it's kind of acting or has been acting. And then with the thought of doing a full replacement in the future. You know, the kind of pros and cons of this is if we were to do it under an emergency certification, it would allow them to shore up the road won't collapse, you know, in the imminent future. And then that would allow them to do the work to find out the engineering for the notice of intent. That notice of intent probably wouldn't come in with that usual 30-day timeline. As long as the commission is kind of understanding of that and puts that as a finding, that's an option. The kind of downside is some preliminary looking on the culvert is that since they were going to be replacing it, it would now have to meet the full extent of the stream crossing standards. And just doing some rough math, when we we're looking at the openness ratio, so it's based on kind of the width of the culvert and the volume to make sure that you have enough open space within the culvert so that, wildlife can pass, fish can pass. So the goal is that that culvert is not perched, and it just has appropriate bottom, so it's kind of embedded a little bit. And based on those initial calculations, it could be big enough that by DOT standards, it would turn into a bridge, which just ups that cost so much more. And I think the downside of this project is it could turn into another Northborough Road culvert repair where bids come in too high or money isn't appropriated and it gets pushed down the line. So we're going to have this, there's the opportunity that this temporary fix will exist, longer than we would like, but ultimately is dictated by funding and town meetings, etc. I think that's the basics of it. So I think it's fundamental deciding right now, do we want some sort of application for the fix, whether it be an RDA or an NOI for the temporary fix, just to make sure that the road is safe, the road doesn't further cave in and kind of shut down traffic on Willow Street. Or, is it something that the commission would be willing to do an emergency cert, for the work, as long as they provide kind of a basic plan for you guys to vote on and look at prior to the work being done, since it kind of is getting worse. So those are the kind of the two options we're faced with as of now, at least. That's about the face that I had, Mark.
So the temporary fix isn't a fix.
Correct.
They're basically going to sit the same size pipe on top of the muck.
Yep. Just so that they can see what's actually going on.
Yeah. And then the fix, we have no idea when that'll happen.
Mhm.
Right. So the temporary fix could be there for a long time. So is there any way that we can, authorize a temporary fix with a time frame associated for a permanent fix?
I personally think so. Whether, I guess it depends what the I think for engineering side of things, they have to do it sooner rather than later. So at least getting an approved plan through us, I think, is definitely pretty enforceable. But
so my kind of way I'm thinking about this is, a temporary fix to get the road open.
Yeah.
Right. But a permanent fix has got to come quick. I don't know about this funding at town meeting and all that kind of stuff. I pay a lot of money in excise tax in this town, a lot. And that's what it's supposed to be used for, is fixing the roads. Right. And I don't live in the road, but the excise tax money that I pay should fix all the roads in Southborough. Right. That's what it's supposed to be used for. So I don't know why it has to go to town meeting for funding. They should be using excise tax funds. But that's an aside. I get a temporary fix so you can do the engineering to figure out what the permanent fix is. But the permanent fix can't be, maybe we'll take it to town meeting next year or the year after that. I mean, that breaks my sort of common sense meter.
And one way I've found in doing kind of a little bit of work on this is that, even if you were to issue the emergency certification, you could still set, the deadline within it. It's usually the 30 days with the NOI, but, I think realistically, we kind of understand that probably won't happen for this type of project. It needs more than 30 days to do the engineering. But still putting some sort of time requirement on that. And then kind of prefacing when they do put in the notice of intent, your permit's valid for 3 years and, you run the chance of us not extending it. And so there's that option, you kind of put a default already with the 3 years. But I'm still talking to DEP if there's a way to legally, but like realistically enforce a body to have work done, you know, before the 3 years that the permit is good for. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope they would. I mean, it's an emergency fix that's going to be sitting on top of the muck, which isn't the elevation of what the pipe should be at. Right? It's the same size pipe. So I mean, I get the need to open the road, right? There's safety concerns around that, right? They need to open the road. So I'm in favor of emergency fix, but I would like to see them come back with a plan for a permanent fix within, I don't know, 90 days. Something that's, I mean, 30 days isn't reasonable. you know,
Yeah.
But maybe 90 days is reasonable.
Okay.
Any other conversation or comments from other members?
Just that I agree that we do need to have a action taken. It sounds like the situation is deteriorating and it's already unsafe.
All right, well, if there's no other thoughts, then I will just keep you posted. You know, I'm definitely looking for some sort of plan to reference off of, you know, if the commission's comfortable and when they are ready, you know, myself issuing the emergency cert and then it being ratified at the next meeting, you know, prefacing that now, then that way, you know, if they do have availability between now and our next meeting, they can get started. But they have the understanding that that starts their 90-day clock as well.
Yeah, and you know, this is the second one in a
Yeah.
couple of years, so I have a feeling that there's going to be more of these coming in front of us.
I think so. All right, so I will move forward with that. I will let DPW and Park Corp know that the commission is minimal to doing the temporary, you know, fix for safety reasons, given that we get some sort of, you know, not necessarily engineered plan, but plan drawn, you know, by Park Corp so that we can reference within the emergency cert as the approved work, and then conditioning 90 days till the NOI submittal. Okay, deal.
Okay.
All right, and the only other thing I have very quickly is there's a potential / kind of confirmed violation at 38 Presidential Drive. The homeowner purchased the property, I think in 2020. So I had been out there with a lot of potential buyers when the house was up for sale to kind of walk people through what they could or couldn't do on the property, because the wetlands come up very close and are pretty much at the existing lawn line. So kind of in the last couple of months, there's been some kind of debris, just kind of clean up along the woodland edge. And then when I went by this week, there has been kind of more kind of top grading. And if you are looking at the house off to the right side where the pool is, that area where the pool fence is to the wetland, at least in 1996, was only 20 feet away. You know, it's probably about the same still, but could be plus or minus a little bit of feet. I did see some of those kind of wetland ferns on the very edge of where they had put some, you know, loam. I'm not sure if it was compost or if they graded. When I talked with the homeowner, they stated that it was their in-laws putting in a garden, and it looked like some trees had been planted when I went by again today that looked different than yesterday, but I'm not quite sure. So I'm going to be meeting with one of the homeowners on Tuesday at 9. If any commissioners would like to join, probably 1 or 2, just so we don't run into a quorum issue. But I am happy to have anyone tag along if they'd like. And I think it's always good to have, you know, more than one person's eyes on it, just in case. You know, he said he was kind of doing it himself and his in-laws were doing it. So I think it's just homeowners trying to do some improvements to their property. He also mentioned that he dug kind of 2 trenches from downspouts of the gutters. And that's the one thing that I can't really see without going onto the property as of yet. There's one that I kind of saw that I was a little bit concerned if that went right into the wetland. So definitely Tuesday will be informative than I have now. But that's kind of where we stand. I've told them to stop, you know, in the meantime, and kind of stabilize as much as possible.
Yeah, if you can send a note to Ben about this visit, this meeting,
Got it.
He sometimes has some flexibility.
Okay.
With the schedule, so where he's
Yeah.
not here tonight, yeah.
If anyone else wants to, feel free to either send me an email or call me, text me even, doesn't matter, let me know. All right, I promise. That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anybody else have anything to bring up, Ed? No, okay. So with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Farrington,
yes.
Upton,
Yes.
Gregory.
Yes.
Passamato.
Yes.
Thought he got too excited, he already left. All right, thank you guys.
All right.
Have a
Night.
Great. Have a good night.
Night.
Bye.